Thomas, you're alive, Olsen said. No, he's not, McCoy said, looking at the pale figure standing in front of them. His sunken eyes, the black veins, and his pale skin stretched over his bones. Innes lifted one of his arms and pointed at the door behind them. Olsen's breath caught in his throat as he followed McCoy's gaze, his eyes widening in horror at the side of the doorway. There, silhouetted against the dim light flittering from the outside, stood a familiar figure, its features twisted. Hello and welcome to Stories with Daniel A. Johnson. I'm your host, Daniel A. Johnson, and this is another collaborative story written by me and ChatGPT. As with the last two, stick around until after the end and listen to me talk a little bit about this story, the process of making it and what I was trying to do. But without further ado, sit back, relax, grab a hot drink or a cold one, and Dave, honestly, you're in a library. Shh, sorry, Dave. I hope you enjoyed the story and that it's just the right amount of scary, because the prompt is, let's write a horror story together, a few sentences at a time. I'll start. We had gotten intel of a remote secret research station running some less than ethical experiments. We had tried for years to find this place, but when we finally did, we were not sanctioned to do anything about it, as we couldn't prove that they were doing anything wrong. But then people in the nearby town started to disappear. As these disappearances escalated, whispers of strange sightings in the surrounding woods began to circulate. Residents claimed to have seen shadowy figures lurking among the trees, their eyes glowing with an eerie light. Despite the warnings, curiosity drew a group of daring individuals to venture into the forest one fateful night, determined to uncover the truth behind the research station's sinister activities. It was this group who finally got us the permission we needed to shut this place down, as unlike the other people gone missing, this group of daring individuals were found, and the state of them, shocking. Sergeant David McCoy showed a picture to one of the other soldiers, and the soldier, a tough-looking guy with short black hair, went pale at the sight of the picture. In the photograph, the once daring group appeared gaunt and hollow-eyed, their skin pallid and stretched taut over their bones as if drained of life itself. Dark veins snaked across their flesh like sinister tattoos, and their expressions were twisted in agony. Sergeant McCoy could see the horror reflected in the eyes of his fellow soldier, as they both realised the true extent of the horror lurking within the research station's walls. This was no ordinary case of disappearances. Something malevolent and unnatural was at play. We have arrived, another of McCoy's soldiers, a man with a top knot shaved on his side and a beard, said. He let out a little laugh as he saw the expression on the black-haired soldier's face. He showed it a picture. I threw up the first time he showed it to me. I'm Orson, Lloyd Orson. What's your name? The black-haired soldier hesitated, his gaze still fixed on the haunting image burned into his memory. I'm Private Jackson. He managed to stammer out, his voice trembling slightly. Despite his attempts to regain his composure, the fear lingered in his eyes, a silent testament to the horrors they were about to face. Sergeant McCoy stepped forward, his jaws set with determination. Alright, listen up, he commanded, addressing the small unit gathered before him. We've finally been given the green light to shut down this damn research station once and for all. Whatever they're doing there, it ends tonight. Stay focused, stay together, and watch each other's backs. We don't know what we're up against, but we're not backing down. With a solemn nod from his team, McCoy led the way towards the looming structure ahead, their footsteps echoing ominously in the stillness of the night. A branch cracked in the distance. Did you hear that? Private Hennings, a bald man with a handlebar mustache, said. Innes, O'Connelly, head towards the noise. The rest of you, follow me, McCoy said. Innes and O'Connelly nodded, their expressions grim as they moved stealthily towards the source of the sound, disappearing into the darkness of the surrounding foliage. The remaining soldiers tightened their grips on their weapons, senses heightened as they pressed forward towards the research station. The air grew heavy with anticipation. each step echoing louder in their ears as they approached the looming building. Shadows danced maniacally along the walls, casting eerie silhouettes that seemed to shift and twist with every flicker of moonlight. As they reached the entrance, McCoy signaled for his team to halt. A sense of foreboding settled over them like a shroud. With weapons drawn, hearts pounding, they prepared to breach the threshold of the research station, steeling themselves for whatever horrors awaited within. A scream could be heard in the distance, and the sound of gunfire. The soldiers turned in the direction of the noise. "I reckon it wasn't just an animal then," Olsen said. Tension hung thick in the air as the echoes of gunfire faded into the night, leaving only the eerie silence of the forest in his wake. McCoy's jaw clenched as he exchanged a grave look with Olsen. "We need to move now," he declared, urgency lacing his voice. With renewed determination, the soldiers pushed forward, their senses on high alert, as they navigated the dimly lit corridors of the research station. Each step brought them deeper into the heart of darkness, closer to the truth they sought but feared to uncover. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the air, echoing through the sterile halls like a banshee's wail. The soldiers exchanged tense glances, the nerves stretched taut as bowstrings, ready to snap at any moment. "We stack together," McCoy ordered, his voice steady despite the tremors of fear that threatened to consume them all. "Keep your eyes peeled and your weapons ready. We don't know what's waiting for us in here, but we're not going down without a fight." With that, he led the way forward, determined to confront whatever horrors lurked within the depths of the research station. Something hit one of the windows with force. Private Jackson turned to see what it was. "O'Connelly!" Jackson yelled. O'Connelly banged his head against the window. Then they heard another bang farther down, but this sounded more like a door being opened with force and banging against the wall. Jackson's heart raced as he turned back towards the window, his eyes widening in horror at the sight of O'Connelly's lifeless body slumped against the glass, blood trickling from a gash in his forehead. The metallic tang of fear filled the air as the soldiers exchanged panicked glances, the sound of their own ragged breath mingling with ominous thuds echoing through the station. With trembling hands, McCoy raised his weapon, his senses on high alert as he scanned the dimly lit corridors for any sign of movement. The distant banging grew louder, drawing closer with each passing moment until it reverberated through the very halls of the station itself. "Fall back! Fall back! No!" McCoy shouted, his voice straining against the rising tide of terror. With adrenaline-fueled urgency, the soldiers retreated, their footsteps echoing in frantic cadence as they raced towards the exit, desperate to escape the encroaching darkness closing in around them. One moment, Private Jackson was running next to McCoy and Olsen, the next moment he was gone. The window O'Connelly was banging his head against smashed. "Keep running, Olsen! We cannot do anything to save them!" McCoy yelled. "Olsen?" McCoy stopped. Olsen was frozen in place, aiming his rifle at something. McCoy's heart sank as he turned to see Olsen standing motionless, his eyes fixed on a figure emerging from the shadow. It was unlike anything they've ever encountered before, a grotesque amalgamation of flesh and metal, a twisted form contorted into a mockery of humanity. "Olsen! Snap out of it!" McCoy shouted, his voice tinged with desperation as he reached out to his comrade, but Olsen remained rooted to the spot, his expression vacant as he continued to track the creature's advance. With a surge of adrenaline, McCoy lunged forward, grabbing Olsen by the arm and dragging him away from the looming threat. Together, they sprinted down the corridor, the sound of their footsteps echoing in frantic rhythm as they raced towards the relative safety of the outside world. But even as they fled, McCoy couldn't shake the feeling that they were being haunted, that the horrors they had encountered within the research station were far from over. As they burst through the exit, gasping for breath in the cold night air, McCoy knew that they had only begun to scratch the surface of the true darkness that lurked within. "Innes, you're alive," Olsen said. "No, he's not," McCoy said, looking at the pale figure standing in front of them, his sunken eyes, the black veins, and his pale skin stretched over his bones. Innes lifted one of his arms and pointed at the door behind them. Olsen's breath caught in his throat as he followed McCoy's gaze, his eyes widening in horror at the side of the doorway. There, silhouetted against the dim light flittering from the outside, stood a familiar figure, its features twisted into a grotesque parody of life. "Innes, what have they done to you?" Olsen whispered, his voice barely more than a hoarse whisper, as he took a hesitant step backwards. But Innes remained silent, his gaze fixed on the two soldiers with unnerving intensity. Slowly he raised his hand, fingers curling into a claw-like shape as he took a step forward, the sound of his footsteps echoing ominously in the stillness of the night. McCoy's grip tightened on his rifle, his mind racing as he tried to formulate a plan of escape. But before he could react, Innes lunged towards him with inhuman speed, his movements fluid and predatory, as he advanced on with silent determination. With a primal instinct born of survival, McCoy and Olsen turned and ran, their hearts pounding in their chest as they fled into the darkness, pursued by a twisted spectre of their former comrade. As they disappeared into the night, the research station loomed ominously behind them, a silent sentinel guarding a secret with malevolent intent that would haunt them forevermore. A scream, and Olsen was gone. Now the only one left was McCoy. He stopped and took a breath, then pointed his rifle around using the flashlight to determine where he was. To his horror, he saw that everything around him was forest. No road. He must have ran in the wrong direction. McCoy's heart pounded in his chest as he surveyed his surroundings. The beam of his flashlight cut into the darkness like a knife. Panic threatened to consume him as he realized the gravity of his situation. Alone, disoriented, and haunted by forces beyond his comprehension. With trembling hands, he steadied his grip on his rifle, his senses on high alert as he searched for a way out. But the forest seemed to stretch endlessly in every direction, its gnarled branches reaching out as skeletal fingers ready to ensnare him in their grasp. As the echoes of his comrades' screams faded into the night, McCoy knew that he was the last one left, the sole survivor of a mission gone horribly wrong. As he stood alone in the heart of darkness, he knew that his only hope for survival lay in finding a way to escape the nightmare that had become his reality. But whether he would live to see the light of day remained uncertain, as the true horrors of the forest closed in around him, hungry for blood and vengeance. A branch cracked. Suddenly McCoy found himself surrounded. His former comrade circled him. Then he heard the footsteps of something impossibly big moving towards him. He looked up and saw the creature that he and Olsen had narrowly avoided in the research station. In the creature's twisted hand was Olsen. Veins that was hanging out from the creature had burrowed into Olsen's flesh. When the creature was done draining Olsen, the veins detached. Then the creature threw Olsen at McCoy. McCoy stumbled backward, his eyes widening in horror as he watched Olsen's lifeless form hurtling towards him, propelled by the grotesque creature's twisted strength. Instinct kicked in, and McCoy dove to the side, narrowly avoiding the grisly projectile as it crashed to the ground beside him with a sickening thud. The creature's baleful gaze fixed on McCoy, his eyes burning with an otherworldly hunger as it advanced, his movements sinuous and predatory. McCoy scrambled to his feet, his mind racing as he searched for a way to escape the encroaching horror. With a surge of adrenaline, he raised his rifle, his hand steadied despite the fear coursing through his veins. He knew that he was unmatched, facing a foe far beyond anything he had ever encountered before. But he refused to go down without a fight. As the creature loomed closer, McCoy gritted his teeth, his finger tightening on the trigger as he prepared to make his final stand. In the darkness of the forest, surrounded by the echoes of his former comrades and the sinister presence of the creature that haunted him, Sergeant David McCoy braced himself for the ultimate battle for survival. Madeline could hear the gunfire in the distance, then silence. The creature had done its job, guarding the research station against another outside threat. She let out a sigh of relief, then injected another villager with a serum she'd been working on. Maybe this could be the one. Madeline's hands worked with precise precision as he administered the serum, her mind consumed by a single relentless obsession. For years she had toiled in secret, driven by a single desire to unlock the mysteries of life and death, to push the boundaries of science beyond what was thought possible. As the villagers lay before her, their bodies twisted and contorted by the effects of her experiment, Madeline couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement. Each injection brought her one step closer to her goal, one step closer to unraveling the secrets of the universe itself. But beneath her excitement lurked a nagging doubt, a whisper of guilt that tugged at the edges of her consciousness. She knew that her action had brought suffering and death to those around her, that her pursuit of knowledge had come at a terrible cost. Yet even as doubt gnawed at her, Madeline pushed forward, driven by an insatiable curiosity that burned within her like a flame. For better or worse, she was committed to her path, willing to sacrifice everything in the pursuit of the truth that eluded her grasp. As he watched the villager wither in agony, their bodies racked by the effect of the serum, Madeline couldn't help but wonder if she had gone too far. But as the whispers of doubt faded into the darkness, she hardened her resolve, steeling herself for the challenges that lay ahead. For Madeline knew that she was on the cusp of a breakthrough, that her experiments held the key to unlocking the greatest mystery of all, the secret of life itself. As she looked upon her creation with a mixture of pride and apprehension, she knew that she would stop at nothing to achieve her ultimate goal, no matter the cost. The end. With the echoes of gunfire still ringing in the air, and the chilling silence that followed, the curtain fell on the tale of the remote research station, its secrets forever shrouded in darkness. Madeline's relentless pursuit of knowledge and the soldier's valiant attempt to uncover the truth had collided in a cataclysmic horror of despair. A storm broke on the horizon, casting its golden light upon the forest where the research station stood. The world remained oblivious to the terrors that lurked within. The whispers of the vanished echoed in the wind, a haunting reminder of the price paid in the name of science and ambition. As the shadows retreated and the forest stirred, with the sound of life returning to normalcy, one could only wonder what other secrets lay hidden in the depths of the unknown, waiting to be unearthed by those daring enough to seek them out. But for now, the tale of the remote research station and the horrors it held remained etched in the annals of history. A cautionary reminder of the dangers that lay in wait for those who dare to tread where they did not belong. Thank you very much for listening. Gently click that subscribe button with a flick of our wrist and nail that bell to a cross like some twisted reenactment of the crucifixion of Christ. I hope things turn around for you if they need to, and stay good if they're good. Welcome to the end of this video, spooky scary. And in the words of Lucio from Overwatch, a game that many people still play, I've heard, oh, let's break it down! So, obviously, my goal here was to create a horror story. I was excited and a little bit nervous about how it would turn out, and if ChatGPT would let me write this story or just delete the whole thing. I tried to keep the filter from popping up, but eventually it did. Fortunately, it didn't delete my text with an error message saying that this writing isn't allowed here. When the story got a little bit too dark, it grayed out the text and then added a warning label to it, which allowed me to continue the story. Something very interesting happened. ChatGPT censored itself. I wrote a passage that was a little bit too dark, and then ChatGPT did the same thing. ChatGPT's own text was grayed out and added a warning label too, which makes me believe that ChatGPT isn't just one bot. The chatbot and the filter are two separate bots running on the same site, one writing text and the other checking if that text is suitable for the site. They might have separated the two bots at some point, because I think they were the same bot at one point. When I asked for feedback on the text that I'm working on previously, they deemed it too violent and didn't give me any feedback. Now though, I think I will get feedback, but the feedback will be grayed out and added a warning label to, which I do think is a way better solution to what I had. One fun observation: when I was creating art for this video, or creating, you can't see it, but I'm making bunny ears, I filled in some words into an AI image generator, and the image generator couldn't create the picture I was describing because it violated the terms of service. It was the description of the creature I was using to create the creature, a grotesque amalgamation of flesh and metal, its twisted form contorted into a mockery of humanity. Obviously, I had to remove some of the unnecessary words. ChatGPT wrote this, and the AI image generator couldn't create it. This description was fine for ChatGPT, but for the AI image generator, it was too violent. Anyway, that's it for this story and some of the observations that I made. Have a good one. Bye.